What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back again with another video, and this one is regarding Colt and Debbie in the most recent tell-all, but as well as Vanessa herself in particular, and Tony. But of course, before we get into it, let's start off by giving a big massive shout out to every single person that is a member of the channel, that is a member or patron, that is a subscriber, as we continue to grow. Now, with that being said, as though I've already made the video around part 2 of the Tell Single Life, where I did speak about Colt and Debbie, well, whilst I was already seeing what's happening, I came across a very interesting post. And this comment here I'm about to read to you is in reference to someone posting something that Vanessa said. And Vanessa pretty much came out to say that, well, now Debbie's not here, I've now got to look after him. And of course, that is a statement that definitely made a lot of people feel a certain type of way amongst Colt's behavior towards Debbie, of course. And to be honest with you, this comment right here that I'm about to read to you guys, well, let me read it and then we can exactly elaborate on why we're here right now. But this person responds to that post pretty much by saying, I don't see it that way. Colt grew up being 100% taken care of by his mother. She raised him to be exactly like this. Vanessa wouldn't have seen full effect because Debbie was always there taking care of him. And you know what? That is a very, very strong point. So of course, if Debbie was living with Vanessa and Colt when they first, decided to actually become official, of course, when Vanessa wasn't there or when Vanessa wasn't looking, Debbie would have definitely been doing things for Colt. In fact, we know that Debbie was also doing things for Colt when he was in his other relationships as well. And her doing things for him was also a way she saw, because she was doing things for him as a mother, she also saw it as a test to see if the other women would want to do the same thing. But also at the same time, there's always been the argument of maybe she has stopped other women from doing things for him. So therefore, he knows that he can only rely on his mother because at the end of the day, Debbie has always wanted Colt in her life, no matter what. And for some people, that can be a healthy thing. But in a lot of situations, that can be very, very unhealthy. But let's continue. Now, as you can see, it continued by saying, he never had to grow up. Debbie didn't want him to grow up. She wanted a boy instead of a man, so she coddled him. When he decided he wanted to be a man and live with mummy, she was left with her own and was losing her apartment. So instantly, in brackets, after what, 2-3 dates, in close brackets, was moving in with Tony because she couldn't support herself. Is getting old and she wanted someone to take care of her because Colt stopped paying for the majority of her expenses. I cannot stand Colt. So this is not me defending him. I just don't think Vanessa really saw it while Debbie was around. And you know what? That is something that we can definitely, or at least in my humble opinion, definitely support. Because at the end of the day, if you was in a situation, and this is why I always say to people that never judge a relationship when you're living with your partner and your parents. Never judge a relationship when you're living with your partner or his or she's parents. Because at the end of the day, the behavior is always going to be suppressed. The behavior is always also going to be hidden. And there's going to be so many things that you're going to miss out on. Really and truly, you don't really know who someone is until you actually live with them. Now, of course, there is the fundamentals of I can have a place, you can have a place, and we can spend time at each other's places. And therefore, that can definitely allow us to know what it would be like living together. And that is the best scenario possible. But when you're in a scenario where you are with someone, but you're seen to be sharing their accommodation with someone else, or you're sharing your accommodation with someone else, and it's always going to restrict you really seeing the full potential of someone. But most importantly, when people are in a relationship with someone and they are living under one of their parents' house, you're never really going to know who you're with. You're never going to know what's going to be like living with that person. And that is just to take away Debbie's involvement in Colt's life whilst she was living with him and any one of his partners. This is me just generally speaking because, to be honest, I'm one of those people. I've been in that situation where I was with someone, but most of the time I saw them, because we wasn't living together, I would always be at her parents'. And who I couldn't really be my full self because, well, I was around her parents. You know what I mean? And I can't say that she wasn't necessarily, I think she was, but I think once living together, that's when we really started to recognize habits that maybe we didn't recognize before and habits that wasn't great. I mean, listen, how many times have you heard yourself or even a friend say to you, and this is something that I've heard more from females than men, where, well, when we was living at my parents' house, he was lovely. But the second that we started living together, everything just changed. He became a slob. He became this. He became that. It's because at the end of the day, when parents are involved, it's always going to be very hard to really see or recognize who you're with. Remember that. But when it comes to Debbie, though, we know Debbie 100%. 100% has always mothered this boy. I don't know how they did not end up on Mama's boy, to be honest with you. But We know that she's always done that. And we know that she has always critiqued any other woman that's ever come in this life because she's been like, well, she's not fit enough to be in my son's life because she can't do this, she can't do that, she doesn't. And that's because Debbie was there doing those things, but also arguably maybe even blocking those things. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, this topic is so crucial, so important, and which is why we're here right now with this comment. This comment really allows me to highlight so many things that I didn't before, or maybe didn't even recognize. But as you can see here, it continues by saying, and Debbie doesn't get to play victim and the good mum to Colt because she wasn't. She ran off his wives and girlfriends so she could control and baby him. This is a fact. Well, I mean, from what we saw, it's definitely a fact. You know what I mean? And not be left alone. And we know her being left alone is something that she has not liked. And it does make a lot of sense. I'm someone who was definitely a massive advocate for saying to Debbie, listen, you're not young anymore, so you might as well just give it a chance. You might as well go move to Canada, Rutonia. And I still stand by that. I still stand by that. But I'm not going to ignore the fact that Tony could just be someone that she's willing to use for accommodation and most importantly for company. Most importantly for company. Because really and truly, each time Debbie has been on Single Life and we've seen her go on a date with someone, it hasn't really taken her too long to pretty much declare her feelings. And it's always been a matter of hoping that that guy's going to want to take her in because she knew the day was coming that Colt was definitely going to leave because, well, he has to. He's a man, right? Or at least he's supposed to be a man. Let's stick with the supposed to be a man because I think him being a man is still pending at this moment in time because Colt is still pretty much a boy. But of course, he's a boy not because of himself. He's a boy because he was sheltered for so long. And we could sit and have this argument about how, well, he's a grown adult. He should have known these things way back. But here's the thing though. Imagine being in a situation where you try and escape your mother time and time and time again. But no matter how many times you try to escape her, she's always trying to find ways to lure you back in. And whenever you try to escape her, she's always trying to find ways to convince the person that you're with to leave you. And that is something that we saw time and time again. And remember, let's not forget, before Vanessa and Colt became a thing, Vanessa was always the one that Debbie always spoke about when Colt was with Larissa. Oh, but Vanessa would be a better match for you. When he's with, is it Jessica or Jasmine? Got her name, but you know who I'm talking about, right? Again, Vanessa was always brought back in. But then finally, he gets with Vanessa. And then all of a sudden, Debbie's the tone has changed. And now she's trying to jeopardize Colt and Vanessa's relationship. But luckily I say luckily, but I'm going to say luckily because I want to be positive about it. But luckily for Vanessa, Colt decided to say, you know what, mum, screw you. I'm going to actually try and start a life with someone else and see how that goes. You know, and rightly so. Obviously, Vanessa, that means she's now had to pick up pretty much a lot of the things that she had no clue about. And, you know, Vanessa has a choice to either stick around or to go. And to be honest with you, I do respect her to a certain degree for sticking around and seeing if she can make things work. But at the end of the day, this is where Colt now really needs to become a man. Because if Colt does not become a man, Vanessa truly and surely should definitely leave him at some point. And it's a shame though, because she'd be leaving him because he's a man that has been treated like a boy for such a long time that Lord knows how long it's going to take him to actually become a man and come out of the shell of what his mother did. But it seems to me as if right now Vanessa's probably enabling his behavior. I mean, listen, love is love, right? Sometimes you just own something just because you don't want to do something, right? But in the long run, I really hope that Vanessa can turn things around and really make sure that Colt does become a legit man and doesn't still continue to be a boy, because there are men out here in this world that do look for women to be their mothers. There are men in this world that do look for a woman to replace their mothers. I've always said that a man always seeks a woman that's going to be his mother, but to a certain respectful degree. What we got going on here for Vanessa and Colt, it's a bit peak, but we can only hope the best for Vanessa. Otherwise, she's got to bounce at some point because Colt really does need to grow up anyway. But anyway, we continue, ladies and gentlemen. It continues here by saying she's now playing the victim. Oh, I don't know. Did I finish the first bit? Oh, no, I didn't. My apologies. Let me go back to the other bit again. Doesn't matter the reasons. We tend to forget what type of mother she was. And she minded him into exactly this. He's trying to break away, in brackets, not the best way. I'd agree, absolutely not the best way, but hey, you know, but he does not know how. And that is a fair point, because you got to remember, this is a boy who grew up without a father pretty much for the most part. And therefore he was raised by a mother who didn't care to even try and give him some form of father figure. He was raised by a mother that just wanted to keep him in a little cage for as long as she was breathing. Yes, for as long as she was breathing, because Debbie is that selfish. Do not forget that. Do not blind yourself to the new lease of life that we've seen with Debbie, because really and truly, the new Debbie that we see is still the same old Debbie. Because if you look at the way she's been with Tony, especially in the most recent tale, always stuff in particular, calling up to him, sobbing away, and you know what? Colt is always called her out for one thing, well, for many things, but one of the things is being manipulative, is crocodile tears, is trying to guilt trip him. And look at what she's doing right now when it comes to Tony. She has guilt tripped that man to feel sorry for her every single step of the way. These are the things that I can admit that I did not necessarily recognize before. Trust me when I tell you, you'll recognize them now. If you don't, it is what it is. But anyway, we continue. Now, it does continue here by saying, now she's trying to play the victim with Tony. She clings onto him for dear life and sobs all over him because her big bad son is making her cry. He then sticks his nose into something that has been decades in the making and tells Colt to F off. The only one being decent in all of this is Vanessa, 100%. To be honest with you, I will tell you this right now. I do not give a damn how Colt spoke to his mother. Tony has no right, really and truly, to step in and to start telling him to F off. Tony made it already clear that he doesn't actually care to have a good relationship with Colt, which is quite interesting, quite hypocritical, because I'm gonna tell you this now. Debbie made it clear, abundantly clear, every time that Colt was in a relationship that her voice was known. She made it known that at the end of the day, she's always going to be a matter. She's always going to be a factor. So it is quite interesting how Debbie decided to settle herself with a man that made it clear that he doesn't even care to make a bond with your son, the son that you love so much, the son that you cared for so long. If you loved him that much, which I don't doubt she did, and if you cared for him that much, and I don't doubt she didn't, but if you did, then why would you want to be with someone and live with someone that flat out said, I don't even care if your son likes me or not, I just want. To be honest with you, that is quite worrying. Some like sickos type mentality. I don't know why I did not pick up on that on the first time I heard that, on whichever episode it was. But that is what he pretty much said. And now he's out here on this stage telling your son to F off. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you a question right here, right now. If you are someone who is a single mother and you bring a man into your life and then your son decides, or your child, it could be your daughter, son or daughter, decides to speak to you in a rude manner, will you let your new partner come in and just tell your child to F off? Answer yourself that question, because if you're the kind of person to allow that, well, then your parenting skills are flawed. I worry for your child, because at the end of the day, I will tell you this right now. If I was a parent and someone came into my life and then decided to speak to my child just because they didn't like the way my child spoke to me, I'll be like, wait, hold on a minute. I know my child done wrong, but don't be speaking to my child like that. If anyone's going to speak to my child, that's going to be me, but I promise you now, not even I would do that, because if I speak to my child with that foul language, then what kind of role model am I as a parent? So if I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to because I'm not going to be that type of role for my parent, then why the hell would I let someone who's a stranger? I don't care if I have feelings for you. I don't care if we're an item. I don't care if I'm going to live with you, but you are still a stranger to my freaking child. So don't you dare do that. So the fact that Debbie allowed that goes on to prove again Colt what he has been saying about how Debbie is manipulative, about how Debbie will do certain things for her own benefit, because at the end of the day, she loved the fact. Remember when he said on stage that she's just faking all this? I absolutely back that, to be honest with you. She's faking all of this. I wouldn't say she's faking how she's feeling. I think that's a bit too strong. But I would say that she is playing on her how she's feeling even more. So therefore, the rest of the room can back her, support her, and even viewers can support her and then look at Colt as if he is the scum on the earth, when in reality, who made this scum of the earth? Yeah, that was Debbie, right? So at the end of the day, if you have failed as a parent, Debs, then it's your responsibility to do better as a parent, Debs. Not for you to go on a show and then to make your son look worse and worse and worse, because if you really cared for him, then you would do what you can to protect him no matter what. But no, she'd rather just sit there next to a man that will talk to her son in such a disrespectful way and sob and cry on him and cuddling him for dear life, because at the end of the day, she wants that man to feel how hurt she is, so therefore he can go tell off her son. The son that she protected for so long. The son that she even said that your dad would not like this. And that's another point. The fact that she said to Colt, your dad would not be proud of you, and yet she allows another man to speak to her son like that. Oh, I'm sure that your ex-husband, I mean, so your husband who's no longer with us, sadly so, Cole's dad would have enjoyed watching you allow another man to speak to your son, your son together like that, you know, yeah. No. So it's like, why don't you take the same energy to yourself then? So here's the thing though, legend. That's why I like this post so much, and this is why I had to read it out, because I wanted you to know that, hey, man, like, some of the gems that we've seen is fantastic. But anyway, let's continue. Finished up by saying this is a freaking hot mess, and probably always will be, because Debbie can do best Debbie can do is move away and give them all a chance to be happy, and that is the bottom line. Listen, I could have sat here and just made the whole comment without the comment bar. You know what? The comment was so strong. I feel like it only how much a shout out to the person that obviously made that comment. I would have obviously I'm hiding your name for, you know, whatever, protection purposes. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the matter of the fact is this though. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're thinking, because for me, just like always, I say everything with my chest because I stand by everything that I say. But of course, if something different happens that allows my perception to change, of course, I'm always the first person to come on and be like, you know what, I know I said this before, but now something's happened and now I'm going to say this, because I have no shame in, you know, in my perception if something new happens, of course, because I believe what life is a walking contradiction. But nonetheless, though, ladies and gentlemen, let me know exactly what you're thinking, because to be honest with you, I think it is a damn shame that Colt is the one that people are looking at as if he is the villain in the situation, when in reality, they are both the villain, to be honest with you, because really and truly, one of them is the original villain, whilst the other one made the villain. You know, that is it. You know, that is just the grand scheme of them, you know. But yeah, the best thing that Debbie can do is now just go off to Canada, hope for the best that, you know, Tony is there for her, and you know, and Vanessa can also hope that, you know, Colt can actually end up becoming an actual man, not a man that's expecting her to do every single thing for him. And of course, if that doesn't work out, then I highly recommend that Vanessa then walks away from him. But at that moment in time, if Colt does run back to his mum, I can only say, Debs, do not take him back. Oh, mom, say to him, nah, listen, I've done you so wrong, and I'm not going to take you back, because if I do, then I'm going to continue doing you wrong. I'm just going to leave you to fend for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what I should have done a long time ago. And that's the only way you're going to become a man for, you know, my last day on this God green's earth. If she did that, that would be fantastic. If she took him back, or to be honest with you, let's keep it 100. If she took him back, she'd probably leave Tony within a minute. You know, she'd be in the first plane back to Vegas, right? But hey, ladies and gentlemen, let me know exactly what you're thinking down below, and we will most certainly talk about it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, of course. Peace.